Everybody, today we're going to talk about Chapter 2, Goals and Strategies within Social Media Marketing. As you can see from the chapter outline, this chapter is going to be discussing social media marketing plan, the different planning cycle, how to listen and observe within a social media marketing, as well as determining strategies and goals, and then linking those goals to a call of action. So before we get into the social media marketing plan, it's important to note that two of the most important steps in the planning process for any business is goal setting and strategy determination. So before moving forward with any social media marketing activities, an organization should first determine what they want to accomplish and then how they best want to do it. A social media marketing plan details an organization's social media goals and the actions necessary to achieve them. So like any good business, this is the map of what they want to accomplish and how they're going to accomplish it within social media. The social media marketing planning cycle. So creating a social media marketing plan is a continuous process. So skilled social media marketers constantly are monitoring the progress of a plan's action elements, modify them, improve them, and then test alternatives. So as you're going to see in the next figure, it's going to show all of the different planning cycle items or pieces that a social media marketer keeps in mind or is aware of during that process. So some of the different process pieces within the social media cycle. Number one would be listening, and this is one that we're going to get into more detail with. So listening to what people are saying about the company or brand enables the organization to determine its current social media presence, which in turn guides the setting of social media goals and strategies to achieve them. So essentially this is competitive intelligence. They're understanding and revealing what people are talking about with regards to brands and product. Number two is setting goals. So this involves conducting an analysis to determine an organization's strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, which a lot of you probably already know from your Principles of Marketing course as a SWOT analysis. Number three is determining strategies. So we're going to discuss this later on within this chapter, but this is the 8 C's of strategy development. It essentially provides a guideline to help organizations reach their marketing goals. And then identifying target audience. So this is done by pinpointing the location, behavior, tastes, the needs of the target audience, choosing the appropriate target audience, really determines on what segment that they really want to serve. And then selecting tools. There are different tools to schedule posts on various social networks, tools to track brand mentions, hashtags, to prepare images, tools to assist with search engine optimization. So some of these tools are very complex, some are very simplistic, but there truly is a tool within social media marketing to automate and to create more simplicity around a lot of the ominous task within social media marketing. And then selecting platforms and channels. So this is identifying the paths on the web by which content will be transmitted to target audience. Social media platforms are generally understood to be websites, so like Facebook, LinkedIn, your different blogging sites, things like that. Implementing, all right? So this is the process whereby the goals and strategies, the target market, and the platforms are taken into consideration and create an actionable social media platform marketing tactic. So this is actually taking the research that you have done and putting it into implementation and creating impact. Monitoring. This is the process of tracking, measuring, and evaluating organizations' social media marketing initiatives. And then tuning is the part of having contingency. So constantly and continuously improving and adjusting the process to make sure that you are achieving all of the goals that you had set. So listen and observe. So we're going to get into a little bit more detail of listening. So it's important to observe the surroundings and consider the target audience as well as the social landscape in general. So marketers should follow conversations about a particular brand or company, its competitors, and the relevant industry on as many social media platforms as possible. So identifying where the organization's target market hangs out and what they are doing there is going to produce competitive advantage for that company. So number one, listening to the conversations about a brand or company. So the first stage is listening to the conversations about that company, okay? Not just listening to yourself or understanding yourself, but actually listening to, again, about that brand or company. So again, there's already conversations taking place. So whether you want to pay attention to it or not, it's in a business's best interest to understand exactly what is being said about their brand. So then they can make adjustments or be flexible around that. Number two, listen to what people are saying about the competitors. So in addition to listening to how people feel about our competitors, it's also helpful to identify the most competitive areas on the social media landscape. So what are the competitors doing on social media? Who are they targeting and what seems to work? So understanding and doing your research will again improve and create a better business plan for that business. So listening to what people say about an industry or category. So this is a broader scale. This is the overall industry. So understanding the conversations taking place around a certain industry will help gauge what people are interested in and frequently talk about. So it's easier for then the business to customize their message regarding what that industry is. Number four, listening for the tone of the community. So essentially this means observing how the consumers naturally interact with each other on social sites. What technical jargon, acronyms, slang, what do they say? What do they use? How do they interact with each other? So when engagement in social media is a good fit, it is a good fit in and sound like that consumer. This knowledge will help facilitate integration and participation within that community. And then finally, number five, listening to different social media platforms and channels. So accessing multiple social media channels help identify where the target audience hangs out and what they do there. So the participants on Facebook are going to be a different audience than those on Twitter or those on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is much more professional. Facebook is much more social and less formal. So each social media channel has its distinctive audience. So again, the target market comes into play when we talk about the different social media platforms. So a couple good examples here. Facebook and Twitter are generally one and two on the list of social media networks used most by marketers. In 2014, Facebook had 1.35 billion active accounts, and those Facebook users shared almost 2.5 million pieces of content per minute. This is some great information. It's just some great facts within the text that really puts in perspective of how broad and just how big social media has become. A couple great examples here would be the National Football League, the NFL, and how they utilized the listening around different tweets and how many tweets went on during the Super Bowl, as well as the Cisco. And a great example from Cisco is that Cisco has stated that it achieved a 281% return on investment from their listening center. So in social media listening in 4 key business areas. So Cisco focused on more creative use of services to achieve industry thought leadership, increased productivity for employees who are able to access relevant content wherever they are, reduced expenditures on marketing research, and increased profit by uncovering sales opportunities that might have been otherwise missed. So again, everybody's looking for that return on investment. Cisco is able to demonstrate it, 281% of it, return on investment. And again, this is the the graphics from just those listening centers in general. So setting goals and objectives. So it is important to keep in mind that our goals must be flexible in the light of new developments while engaged in social media. So customer service is one of the handful of key objectives that marketers often adopt when they create goals. According to a Forrester survey, the most popular business objective for social media include brand awareness, building brand preference, acquisition of new customer leads or sales, loyalty program to retain current customers, and providing customer service. Social media activities also resulted in increase of market insight, improved search rankings, better business partnerships, and lower marketing costs. And then this is just, again, a graphic to demonstrate and show what some of those goals are and what the most important ones are. So again, continuing with setting goals and objectives, there's a framework around this with primary objectives, which we'll discuss in a moment, as well as some secondary objectives. Some of the objectives that can be secondary in a social media marketing campaign: achieving a desired brand positioning, producing new product ideas, being prepared to handle reputation management in crisis, supporting public relations and advertising campaigns. And then some of the more uh, detailed or more specific objectives, which here's the graphic for it: exposure, engagement, influence, impact, and advocacy. So if we get into this, we talk a little bit more about exposure. Exposure is the opportunity to see or hear a piece of content in any channel. Engagement is a term popularized by social media marketers. It is the most often measured as some variant of time spent on a piece of content. So again, who is seeing it? How long are they there? Which content creates more impact or more likes or more comments than other content? So how do we measure what people are doing on our content? Influence. It's reasonable to that this term that describes the ability to affect attitudes and behavior. So again, our content and our posts, are they influencing a crowd? Are they influencing the audience? Are they persuading them to have a call of action? Or is it creating more viral content? Impact. How does social media marketing activity affect business results? Specifically, how does it affect the attainment of our goals? So what is it doing for the bottom line? And then advocacy. So this is a term that's used by traditional promotion. So understand the effects around this. When we talk about social media marketing, it's word of mouth marketing. So it's opinion leaders, and that these opinion leaders do have influence on followers. But outside of those opinion leaders, it's also having general population advocacy to create that word of mouth marketing. And then here are some, again, if we look at platform-specific objectives, if we think of business objectives, financial in nature, marketing objectives, this is share of market brand, often stated in terms of market share, social media marketing objectives. Again, this is much more to customer satisfaction score, and we're going to talk about in later chapters how to develop that score and how to get that percentage. And then campaign specific or platform specific, this would be retweets or blog content or the likes or views or comments, things like that, that would be much more specific to that platform itself. This is a great piece, and this is just a great item within this chapter, and it's creating SMART goals. So everybody wants to know, it's easy to throw up on a board and say, create your goals for the next 10 years or create your goals for the next 6 months. But if you don't know how to create a very effective goal, it won't come true. So there will be no fruition to that goal unless you've got very specifics around it. So I really like this acronym, and it's called a SMART goal. So specific, you need to have details around it. Measurable, can you actually measure the effectiveness of the goal? Achievable, can you achieve the goal? Is it something that you can truly be able to accomplish? Realistic. I like also relevant. So is it realistic to what your primary vision statement is? Is it relevant to that vision statement? And then time. Does it have a timetable on it? If we make a goal and we never put a timetable on it, we're never going to hold ourselves accountable to that goal. So we have to have it specific to 6 months, 1 year, next week, whatever it might be. And it's important to specify the framework for each of those objectives like we just discussed. So determining strategy. So social media marketing should not be an isolated part of the marketing strategy. Rather, social media marketing, it needs to be linked into the broader marketing plan. Actually, before I get to this, a couple pieces with this. What was learned? Again, this is the research, the best practices. We're going to pick up best practices from our research and listening that we do, both with ourselves, with the industry, and with competitors. It's how we apply those best practices that's going to give us the competitive advantage. Being flexible. So social media marketing, you have to be flexible and adaptive. So for example, according to the text. Customers may primarily want to use Twitter for customer service, or perhaps most existing customers are only active on Facebook. So to be open and to adapt to whatever social media may be more applicable to your target audience, it's important to have that. All right, the 8 C's. So a couple of these, I'll let you guys read through this, but a couple of them that I can really relate with, both through my own career and just some different things that I have seen. So conversing. So by acknowledging and responding to other users of the platform, and always remember to be a contributor, not a promoter. So again, I feel that that is a big one because it's more of that traditional permission marketing. So it's trying to generate discussion and to generate collaboration with, again, our audience, which would bring me right back into the next one that I feel is very important, and that is to collaborate. So with platform members, as this means, is establishing a mutual beneficial relationship with the platform participants. So again, it's not what's in it for us, it's how we can help a customer, or how we can help a business, or how we can help someone else, what's in it for them. When you truly define that for that customer or that business, that's when they start to listen, they start to become engaged in what this plan is. So linking goals with the call of action. So once the clear marketing goals are established, it's important to link those goals to a call of action. So what is a call of action? A call of action is essentially creating some type of desirable action, right? It's some type of, what do we want them to do? Do we want them to click on a blog post? Do we want them to sign up for a newsletter? So everything that we have, all of the information that we are presenting them, feeds into what this call of action is. So it's the behavior that we want a potential customer to exhibit at each stage of our marketing campaign. So a couple good examples: lead generation and brand building. Two great marketing goals. Our call of action to that for lead generation, it might be to sign up for a webinar, or call for a consultation, or complete a form for a consultation. Again, this gives us customer information that we can create leads from. And then brand building. What is that? It could be watching videos, clicking on links, reading content. So again, creating the loyalty, creating the brand around the different content that we are posting. Self-promotion versus building an army of advocates. Again, advocacy goes beyond focusing social media efforts around a brand ourselves, or simply publishing content about the brand. But while social media can be a platform for businesses to share their content, it can become even more valuable by building the number of people who are passionate about the business and requesting them to create content and or share it. So, and we're going to discuss this in the next graphic, but word of mouth marketing. So this is the leading purchase influence in 4 different countries, as you're going to see. So what is word of mouth marketing? Word of mouth marketing can be as simple as, again, someone hearing about this from either a family or friend, or perhaps maybe even seeing it on an Amazon review. It's marketing that is happening outside of the business, outside of the 4 walls of that business. So, and sometimes, eventually a business will offend someone, all right? Whether it be, either the content that they create, or perhaps the service or the product that they have. And having honest, regular people who are not employed by the company defend the brand can turn that entire conversation around. So the business is not advocating for themselves, but rather the customers of that business are advocating to other customers about how great that service or that good is. So some very passionate brand advocates can actually start off as disgruntled customers or skeptical purchasers. So many customers are flattered when businesses take time to respond to them personally about their problems. And in turn, that word of mouth marketing grows virally. So changing an initial bad impression can turn into a lasting positive one. And like I discussed just a moment ago, in 4 different countries, you could see that word of mouth marketing has got decision influence. So some of the best practices to again summarize this chapter, starting with a roadmap. So identifying our target audience, interacting with them. How will we do it? Having contingencies in place, listening before we start interacting. So understanding ourselves, our industry, as well as our competitors. Welcoming the audience to participation and feedback, the collaboration, the content generation, giving the strategy an adequate amount of time to build. So again, this is going to be more of the patience. So understanding the content, engaging with our audience, researching, developing goals, and then being flexible. So social media itself, it's always constantly evolving, having contingencies in place, being able to move very quickly depending on which social platform is generating more content, more content return, or return on that conversation. Which platform do we want to focus more on? Is it Twitter? Is it Facebook? Is it LinkedIn? So being flexible around that. So as we get into more of the chapters outside of this chapter, it's going to be identifying the target audience. We're going to get into much more details and much more specifics on how a company can really engage and impact and just wrap themselves around a lot of the different ideological pieces that we've discussed within this chapter. So thank you for listening, and we will connect again on chapter 3.